My, people. This fucking Joshua Fabia stuff just keeps getting weirder and weirder. So a few days back, Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia went on a podcast called True Story by John Gibson. I honestly don't necessarily know who this guy is. I did a little research. He seems to be some fitness guy who has a podcast. But he seems like a very nice guy, but oh my god, this dude is just sucking their dicks the entire time. Like no unbiased fucking questioning, like at all, like no challenging them. They were just spouting a lot of craziness. And I listened to this podcast, which was an hour and 32 minutes of fucking craziness and nonsense. And I did it so that you don't have to. Okay? And then I'm going to try to fucking summarize all this dumbass shit that was in this fucking podcast. Because I feel like some of the points that they do raise are good points, but Joshua Fabia is such a fucking idiot. This man is out of his mind. He's a con man that's clearly trying to position himself to sue the fucking UFC and then take a huge chunk of that fucking lawsuit when really it has nothing to do with him. And it's just very clear, right? But there are certain points that they bring up that are good points. Such as, health insurance, like after you stop fighting, because right now, fighters currently, their health care is only for the week of that fight. So because of that, there's a lot of problems that can arise from that. Such as, if I get hurt outside of that fight week or outside of that fight, then they don't have to cover it. So if I blow out my knee in camp, they don't have to cover it. Which most of the time they still do, but they don't have to. And I mean, for a lot of these lower tier guys, they won't. They won't fucking cover you if you just have one or two fights. So there's a lot of guys that will go into fights hurt. Because that's the only way that, they can get it fixed. So they'll fight with a blown out knee and say that they blew out their knee in that fight just so that they could get the health care that they properly need, right? So that is an issue that they also bring up. And then I think pensions. That's also a massive thing, is that there's no retirement plan where Dana's excuse is that, it's fighting. This isn't a job. This isn't a career, it's fighting. But it's no, these are these men's lives. They sacrifice their health, they sacrifice their brains, their bodies, right? And I'm not saying that it should just be a typical pension, right, where you pay into it every single fight, and then the fucking UFC can match what you also pay into that pension. And then once you're done fighting, you have a little bit of extra money, right? I mean, it probably wouldn't be that much, but just doing that, I feel like it's a very feasible thing. It's something that they could definitely do. And I mean, I think that would, in the end, be the best thing for a lot of these fighters to have. After they stop fighting, to have some sort of pension, have some sort of health care, just to be covered. But Joshua Fabia, he doesn't bring it up fucking that, right? he just spins everything like back to him, and it's so crazy. And like fucking Diego is just getting spun into this web. He just has this black widow that's just spinning this web, and Diego's stuck, and he doesn't even realize it. That he's a fly in the fucking web of Joshua Fabia, and this man has literally controlled every aspect of fucking Diego's life. And Diego's just blind to it, right? And there was one point where Diego was saying that, I've had to cut off family because of the persecution to Josh has been so bad, and there was family members that were like, hey, he is conning you, like this man is gonna fuck you over, like you need to separate and distance yourself from him. And then he said that he had to cut off family members because of it, right? And it's like, oh my God, Diego. Like, and it's just anybody that goes against Josh, you could tell Josh is just in his fucking head. And then Josh spins it in Diego's head that because they hate Josh and they think that he's a con man piece of shit, that they think the same thing about fucking Diego, when it's the opposite, right? Where there's a lot of people that are concerned that this man is taking control. Like, I mean, just look at the interviews. Like this man is attached to every interview that fucking Diego does. He spins stuff, like he manipulates and is delusional, like about so many situations. Such as, he said that since Diego has started to train with him, right, that he's taking the least damage ever, and that he didn't get rocked once, and that it's been some of his best fights. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, seriously, bro, like, what are you talking about? Michelle Pajeda, Michael Chiesa, Jake Matthews, they all beat the fuck out of Diego Sanchez. They beat him bad. Like, what are you talking? Like, it's insane. But then he spins it like as if he's this fucking guru, like this MMA genius, when this guy doesn't know what he's talking. Hey, I'm bound, man. It's insane. Like, and the Matt Serra thing, if you guys don't know, like about a year back, Joshua Fabia confronted Matt Serra because Matt Serra is saying what I'm saying and what everybody else is fucking saying, that he's a fucking goofball, he's a fucking tool, and he's using fucking Diego, and it's terrible, and he's a fucking scumbag, right? So pretty much Matt Serra was saying stuff like that, which it wasn't even that blatant. He was just not really trying to reference him. He was just trying to, keep this clown like out of his mouth. He wasn't trying to, talk with him on his podcast, because rightfully so, because you're his, manager, life coach, fucking whatever the fuck. It's like, this shouldn't be about you. It's about Diego. Like, why are you even a part of any of this fucking media? And then he was butthurt. So at a restaurant, Joshua went up to Matt and was just like, hey man, like, why do you talk bad? And then Matt essentially like was just like, what? Like, I'm trying to have breakfast here, bro. Can you fuck off? Excuse me, sir. Can you fuck off, please? And Joshua Fabia spins that as that when he went up to Matt Serra, that like he punked him, and Matt Serra just sat there like a bitch. Where when you go to watch that fucking video, the only one that looks like a bitch in that fucking situation is fucking Joshua Fabia. Because he steps up to Matt. He expects Matt to apologize or something. And then Matt's like, bro, I don't even know your fucking name. Like, you're a fucking clown. Get the fuck out of my face. Right? Like, where Josh, he spins this like as if that's not what fucking happened. And he does that with every fucking situation. Like, his, Sanchez getting paid, like, with the rest of, what he's owed from his contract. Like, Joshua acts like he was, like, the mastermind, and he, like, and he leached this money from, like, the fucking UFC, and it's like, no, he had a contract that, by the way, if Joshua was not here, Diego would just fight that fight, have the fucking send-off fight, because that's one thing that he brought up, that this is supposed to be his last fight, and they robbed him of that fight. But it's like, bro, no one robbed you of that fight besides fucking Joshua. Posting all this crazy shit on fucking social media, and then they keep on bringing up his fucking medicals, right? That they asked for that, and then the UFC told them, we don't have your health records. The state commissions do. So you need to request it from them. And by law, every single human being in this country has rights to their medical records. Every single person. Right? So, but the UFC doesn't have to hold on to that shit. And you have to go through the state, and you have to request those records from the state, from each state. Right? And they spin that as like the fucking UFC is holding his actual records hostage, and they told him to go through the state, but they didn't give them like contact. And it's like, bro, like, they don't have to give you contact info. Like, it's the state commission. And like, they were talking about how they don't have their actual numbers to contact them. And it's like, bro, I can guarantee you right now, I could get every phone number for every state commission in under a minute. It takes a quick Google search. These are state agencies, right? They're not that hard to contact. But they're just making it seem like, they're trying to hide this. And Joshua, like, is acting like he wasn't clearly positioning to sue the fucking UFC. That's clearly what he was doing. He saw what was happening with Mark Hunt. He's a little fucking slippery snake. So he was setting this up so that Diego could have his last fight, and then they're going to sue them. It's clear as day. And I feel like that's what they're going to still do. Right? And it's just like, you can't blame the fucking UFC when you're clearly posturing and positioning to sue them, that they're not going to go along with that bullshit. And it's just fucking crazy. Like, this man is out of his fucking mind. Oh, and then one weird thing, man. This podcast was 90 minutes long. And the amount of times that they brought up how they're not gay is weird. It's like, dude, if you're not gay, like, you don't have to defend yourself that you're not, like, it's so strange. And like, the more that they're defending, like, it's like, it just makes it seem like they are gay, and that they just don't want to, like, the way that they were phrasing it, like, fucking Josh, like, would just say, like, oh, we're not gay. But if we were, like, who fucking cares, pretty much, right? And it's like, no, like, people don't care. I mean, and Cowboy just made, a stupid joke at, like, a press conference. And, like, then they were just like, oh, that's so despicable. How could you hate on like, gay people, like, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh my god, bro, like, shut the fuck up. Like, literally, like every little thing they try to spin it. Well, not they, it's fucking Joshua. And then Joshua fills Diego's head with all this bullshit, that it's just them two versus the fucking world, and that the whole world just wants to take him down. And it's like, it's really sad, because this interview, like, Diego, if you listen to what he's saying, he almost never says, I wanted this, blah, blah, blah. That, me personally, I blah, blah, blah. Like, it was always we, this man Joshua, me and fucking Joshua, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like, you could tell that Diego's views, like, Diego's positions, are influenced heavily by fucking Joshua, because Joshua paints it as, like, it's the abusive boyfriend, like, fucking type, like, thing, that pretty much, like, where your entire family, like, is just like, hey, that person is not good for you, like, they're going to fuck your entire life up, like, and then their like, abusive partner will spin that as, oh, they hate us, blah, 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 and then it's us, like, against the fucking world, and then they'll isolate them from their family, from the people that actually love them, from the people that actually care, because they all see the evilness, right? And it's like the fucking parasite, and, like, they're trying to remove that fucking parasite. So they fight back, right? And then they isolate them and make it seem like it's just us. It's just us versus the fucking world. And it's just sad. It's sad, it's weird, it's fucked up, and they're just acting like, well, Joshua is, like, acting like he's, like, a fucking whistleblower. And he's doing all of this because it's for fighters' rights and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's not, bro. No, it's not. Don't try to paint it in this way, like you're some fighting saint, right? Like this guy is so contradicting, where he's literally like, oh, this sport is, like, just about violence and blah, blah, blah. It's disgusting. And it just sounds like he's anti-fighting. But this is the same man that supposedly taught Diego Sanchez a move that would kill Michael Chiesa, which in reality, of course it wouldn't, because that's a bunch of fucking bullshit. It's stupid. But in his head, he thought that he was teaching fucking Diego that. And in his crazy little mind, he thought that he was teaching a move to kill another fighter. And then he wants to talk how the sport is so brutal and how they just glorify violence, which I feel they do in a sense, but hey, but it's fighting. There's two men in their underwear getting locked in a fucking cage, then they beat the fuck out of each other until one of them either taps out or goes unconscious. It's like, yeah, bud, that's the most brutal sport on fucking earth. Fighting is extremely brutal. But he acts as though that, fighting is not voluntary, when it very much is. Fighting is very much voluntary. These fighters that are fighting, 95% They want to fight. That's why they're fighting. That like they would fight for $1,000 like fucking week, right? Like they're not being forced to fucking do this. They want to fucking do this. This is their dream, right? They want to be the best. And he's just acting as like if like all of these fighters are being, forced to fight, how they're slaves and all this nonsense, man. All this nonsense. And it's just like this podcast that if you want to just smash your head like against the fucking wall for 90 minutes, then listen to it. It's called True Story with John Gibson, and it's episode 19. It's which granted, like I don't want to diss this host much because it just seems like he's not aware, right? Like it seems like he's a very nice guy just based off of what he was saying, but he's just not aware of like the fucking situation. And Joshua Fabia is like a Facebook conspiracy theorist embodied. Like it's insane, man. Like they're saying that the fucking UFC makes fake users on Instagram and on Facebook just to attack him. And it's like what are you talking? Like what are you saying, guy? Like you think that the UFC has an army of fake Facebook and fake Instagram things, like just to use them to slander you? And his whole thing is that he's like, yeah, so when you click on these actual pictures, like they don't have posts and they don't have pictures of like actual people, like, but it's like, yeah, it's called trolls. Those people are trolling you because you're a fucking idiot. And trolls don't use their real account, you dum-dum. You ever thought of that, you big dummy? I bet you didn't. Like, I mean, what's more fucking likely that you're a fucking dumbass and a lot of people are trolling you because you're a dumbass and all of these accounts are trolls? Or is it that the UFC has an army of fake accounts and fake users that they use to attack you? It's like, I mean, come on, bro. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. And he acts as though like the fucking UFC is controlling like the fucking media, and he groups them all in one. And it's just like, bro, the UFC has nothing to do with media. Like, all of these websites, they're not affiliated. Like, I mean, they are, but like they aren't, right? It's like, I guarantee you, Dana White's not calling up John fucking Morgan and like fucking saying, yo, this Joshua Fabia guy's a problem. Like, we need to come out with a bunch of news stories, right? And position it so that it seems like Diego and Joshua are gay. Which that's the point that he was making. That's what he was saying. Like, he was saying that there's a media campaign to attack them both. And it's like, no, bud. You're a fucking dumbass. Everybody hates you. And it's views. And granted, the media has, like, this is an hour and 32-minute podcast. And all of the headlines were that Joshua, which is one part that I didn't even bring up yet, is that Joshua says that Dana White and Sean Shelby fuck the UFC fighters. Now, what's funny is that he didn't say if it was the girls or the fucking guys. So that would be funny too. I think that Dana White's like fucking like Francis or somebody like that. How funny would that be? But yeah, so he literally said that in passing, and it's literally 15 seconds of this entire podcast, and there's so much craziness, there's so much nonsense, and that was just another statement that he pulled from his fucking ass, where he says all of these things where, dude, and the amount of times that he said, let's just look at the facts here, right? Let's just look at the facts. And it's like, what facts? Like, you say look at the facts, then you don't present any facts, and then you just say some random outrageous stuff like that Dana White fucks fighters, and then yet there's no proof. Like, you don't say who, there's no text, there's no screenshots, there's no there's nothing. And all of this shit where he acts like, oh, the fucking UFC like ousted them, and I have proof from that phone call. And it's like, and then when you listen to the phone call, it's clearly Joshua trying to position himself to make it seem as though, which this part may very well be like true, that Diego has like sustained a lot of damage, right? A lot of these fighters have like sustained a lot of damage, and you could tell that he was positioning himself to sue the fucking UFC, and you could tell that he was trying to get them to step on their own foot. And like they didn't. Like they were just like, look, if Diego's not fit to compete, we're not going to let him. And then it suddenly turns, oh, no, it's not that. It's not that. Like, I just wanted to, like if he blew out his like knee or something. And it's like, ugh, no, kid. It's clearly not what you fucking wanted, right? Man, like I've just been rambling, but it's just insane. Like, this man is insane, and he's just full of shit through and through. That when anybody tries to save Diego from Joshua cuts him out, right? Greg Jackson was telling fucking Diego that this guy's a clown. Like, don't train with this guy. And then what happens? That same week, Diego leaves Jackson's and trains with Joshua full time. And it's the same thing when his family members, hey, this fucking Joshua guy, he's a goddamn leech. Like, you need to get away from him. Then what does Joshua do? He cuts him out, fills fucking his head with all of this nonsense that all of these people hate him and they want the worst for him, and literally just anybody that tries to call him out on his bullshit, he gets defensive immediately and starts attacking. Which that is the sign of a bullshitter, right? Once a bullshitter starts to get called out, they go into that defense mode. Where they suddenly start attacking. Like, which is why he went after the commentators and filmed it, like, and was just like, oh, the article's written, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hello, they're commentators. They don't write news fucking pieces, right? It's just, he is a little slippery snake. And this is not going to end well. This is not going to end well at all. And Joshua gives me weird vibes, man. Like, this is like fucking gonna be like what was that rich dude that would hire like elite fucking wrestlers to come and like train him, and he was like just a weird like gay guy, and then he ended up murdering a really famous wrestler. I forgot, but there was a movie that was made on it. I'm trying to think of it, but I'm drawing a fucking blank here. But I could easily see something like that fucking happening here. Like, no lie, dude. Joshua gives me weird vibes, man. That if it came out in the fucking news that there was like some murder fucking suicide shit, I would not be shocked. Like, that man is a fucking demon. That man is a walking demon. He is a succubus, but just in like a male form. I'm sure that there's like a term fucking from it, but it's just it is insane. Like, this just blows my fucking mind, man. And I have a lot of people in my family that are exactly like fucking Joshua, which I feel like that's why, you know, like all this shit kind of creeps me out, sort of, because it's like I know all of these tendencies. I have a lot of family members that do what Joshua does, and they live in this distorted world built off of lies, and they convince themselves that these lies are fucking truths. And that's exactly what fucking Joshua's doing. And he's looping fucking Sanchez in with this. And single-handedly, like, fucked up his, like, fucking last fight. And then just wants to act like, you know, like, oh, like, he, like, still got paid. I still got him his cash and, like, all this stuff. Like, and it's like, guy. Where the fucking UFC too, like, in that phone call, they said, look, Diego, if you need any medical help, whether it's now or in 10 years, we got you. We got you. We have some of the best doctors. We will pay for everything. And then Joshua spins that as, oh, but it's UFC doctors. Like, I don't trust the fucking UFC doctors, so fuck them. And it's just like, what? Like, you're saying that you're concerned that Diego isn't going to get the proper treatment after fighting. The UFC ensures to you that whatever medical care he needs, he will get completely free. And then Joshua spins that, and it's just like everything else. Then on top of that, like, he was saying weird shit. Like, he was just like, I say motherfucker a lot, and this is why this right here is my mother. And then he just points to a fucking lake. Oh, I forgot to fucking say that. Like, these guys were sitting on a fucking lake this whole time, which is kind of weird. But he was pointing at the fucking lake, just like, this is my mother. And I have all these people that want to try to fuck my mother. And it's like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, seriously, what are you talking about? Like, he just spins this as, oh, it's the media. Oh, it's the fucking UFC. To, oh, it's the entire world is trying to fuck up the earth or something. Like, what? Saying that the lake is your mother? Like, this is what I mean, people. This man is out of his mind. And if you try to reason with crazy, you become crazy. And it is just insane. I mean, I feel like I covered most of what was in this fucking pile of dog shit. This 90-minute dick sucking session where this guy John fucking Gibson is just like, "Oh, Joshua, you're so great, and you just don't get praise, and I'm glad that I could sit here and I could give you praise." It's like, bro, this guy deserves zero praise. It's like he 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 took control of Diego's life in his lowest point. Right? He was getting towards the end of fighting. He had come to grips that he's not the same fighter that he once was. He felt like he wasn't getting attention at his current gym. His family and his wife was telling him that he should stop fighting. And because of that, he divorced his fucking wife. And then on top of that, he was drinking, and he was just in a very, very dark spot. And then Joshua Fabia took advantage of him during his lowest point, and then he just attached himself like a fucking leech. Like a goddamn fucking leech. But, I mean, I've gone on for 36 minutes on this fucking guy, so I think it's about time to move on here, people. But this Joshua Fabia saga is not going to end well, and Diego is clearly very stubborn, and it's not going to take until Joshua stabs him in the fucking back. And it's gonna fucking happen. It's gonna happen. Like, they were talking about how Joshua does everything. He handled his fucking finances. He's his business manager. He's his coach. He's all this. And that could easily, dude. I know for certain this guy's gonna steal money from fucking Diego. 100%. 100%. It's like they were talking about how Sanchez is starting a boxing league, and they're gonna have their first fight, and blah blah blah. And then I could easily see like Joshua coming in here about like, oh, it's been us both, so it should be like a 50-50 split. So I'm just gonna take like half of your fucking money. Where it's like, a typical fucking manager would be like 15, not 50. It's just this shit's crazy. And if anything else pops up, if they do any more press or stuff like that, I will keep you guys updated. If they say any more crazy shit, which is bound to fucking happen. So let's move on from those fucking dum-dums. There was some weird news this week in that Anthony Johnson got a massive win. He fought through adversity at the very start. He got rocked pretty, like, he couldn't really find his timing that much in the first round. He was getting a little reckless because he couldn't find that timing. So he was kind of pressing forward and getting a little crazy, and then he got cracked for it, and he got rocked and he got dropped. And I think that was the first time that he's ever gotten dropped or like rocked in a fight. And he came back, and then in round 2 got a disgusting fucking KO, man. He damn near ripped this guy's head off with a straight right to the fucking jaw, man. It was a brutal knockout. But it was a very good win for Johnson. Like, I feel like for his first fight back, that's good. Like, that he had to fight through that craziness, and then he comes back with an insane finish. But then he wins, right? Then the next day, cops show up to his hotel room and arrest him. And he was charged with identity theft dating back to 2019. He bought a credit card. No, sorry. He bought a plane ticket with a stolen credit card. Which is weird because it was from Fort Lauderdale to Newark. And it was November 9th, 2019. It's just it's just so weird. Like, I would like to know what the story is, but right now that's all they've put out, is that he used a credit card that wasn't his to buy a plane ticket. And I mean, he put his own name down. He put Anthony Johnson down. Like, it was. And it's like, all it says is that he obtained it, illegally. So what does that mean? Did he have a sketchy friend that was like, yo, okay, I have some fucking stolen credit cards, if you want to buy one from me? Or was it an ex-girlfriend, maybe, still had the card info, kind of a spiteful, like, get fucking back at this bitch type thing? Was it maybe his former manager or something? Or, like, I would like to know what, like, the fucking situation was, because it's very weird. Which, Anthony Johnson, like, I mean, he wasn't the richest guy, but I mean, he used to make a lot fighting. Like, he used to make hundreds of thousands, like, every single time he fought. So I don't know if when he retired for the whole weed thing, for those that don't know, he stopped fighting and then he started growing weed, and I think he was gonna open a pot shop, but that went south, and I don't know if he lost all of his money doing that, and then to the point where he was using stolen credit cards to buy a plane ticket. It was, I don't know, man. Just that's so weird. Such a strange thing. So right now, there's really nothing, like, besides that. And he went to jail, but then he got released almost instantly on a $500 bond. Which is, like, at that point, why are you arresting this man in his hotel room if his bond is $500? Like, I don't get when, like, the jail, the courthouse system, like, does that. It's like, why don't you call him up first? Be like, hey, you have to pay this bond, or, like, else, like, we'll fucking bring you to jail, and you need to sit in jail, like, until your case, like, and, like, I don't get why they like, arrest you and then they bring you in and then you're there for like an hour, then you pay a fucking bond. Like, it's just weird. So unfortunately, there's not really much more, like, besides that. He will appear in court on June 8th, so we'll probably see what happens more there. I mean, identity theft is a very weird thing, right? Because the charges can range from a $5,000 fine to up to 5 years in fucking jail. So, I mean, it's going to be very weird. I mean, I don't think he's going to, end up in jail. And I feel like Bellator already has their, like, fucking lawyers on this shit. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. And I would assume that Bellator would just still let him fight while all this is getting worked out. So I don't necessarily see this affecting him. But if Anthony Johnson has to pull out of this tournament, expect Yoel to get fucking thrown back in there, right? Because we still don't necessarily know what happened with Yoel, besides that they said that it was something to do with his eye, and he could try to apply again next month. So what I'm thinking is that's probably a Bisping type fucking situation where one of his eyes are completely fucked. And he probably can't see well, and he probably failed the eyesight test. Like, I forgot what that's called, but he probably failed that because one of his eyes got fucked up by Robert fucking Whittaker. Damn near kicked his fucking eye off. So, and ever since that, I mean, there's been guys who have fought him that have said, yo, Yoel's eye is fucked. Like, his eye is fucked. So we'll see what happens with Yoel. And I feel like it just could be the state that, like, they're in, and then maybe they'll try to get the fight done in a different state when it's different doctors. But I mean, expect that if Johnson pulls out, they're gonna try to throw Yoel in there. So it's a very weird thing. It's a very interesting, strange thing that happened, because that Bellator card was a lot better than the past fucking UFC card. There was a lot of kind of boring fights on this fucking UFC card, man. This was just a meh card. I mean, besides for the cowboy fight, that like, the whole card was just kind of meh. Which, speaking of cowboy, I mean, I was saying going into this fight that I didn't really like this matchup because Cowboy's not a welterweight, and the only reason why he was taking this fight is to fight Diego Sanchez, which that didn't happen, and then Alex Morono comes in, which is like, what? Which doesn't really make sense, like, unless if you just want to keep Donald on the card, right? Because, like, the rest of the card was pretty weak. And then in turn, like, just Cowboy gets fucked. He has to fight a dude that's bigger, that's younger, that's hungrier, when you're supposed to fight Diego Sanchez, a fight that he would probably have won. Because I mean, Diego probably almost certainly would not have fucking won that fight, especially with fucking Joshua Fabia. So he goes from having an opponent that he's probably going to beat and a pre like performance he was probably going to look good in, to fighting this young kid, and then he gets stopped. And there's a lot of people that are saying that he should stop fighting, and he doesn't want to. And I feel like if you don't want to stop fighting, then you shouldn't necessarily have to. But the UFC shouldn't be matching him up with guys like that, right? I mean, Cowboy, I love him, but he's clearly not the same fighter he once was, and he can't really hang with those top guys, with these young guns. So, like, make fucking veteran matchups, like, like, do him and, like, Matt Brown, or like somebody like that, or like Nick fucking Diaz, like just fights like that. Have these legend fights. Uh, I don't know if they'll do that. I think that they were. And Dana White said that he'll give Cowboy one more fight. And then he'll see from like that point, because they're not going to cut him. They'll just kind of force him to stop fighting. Which, I don't know, like, I wouldn't like to see, him go out in that fashion, right? So I feel like do him versus Matt Brown or somebody like that. Have an awesome last fight and then kind of hang it up, right? But I mean, we'll like see what happens. But that Bellator was very good. We had Michael Page smashing in Derek Anderson's fucking nose, dude. That broken nose was one of the worst broken noses I've ever seen in my fucking life. Derek's nose was literally smooshed into his head. It's like, I've never seen that, man. This man's nose was literally smashed in. Like, I've seen terrible fucking broken noses, right? Like, I mean, what comes to mind is when Mike Perry got his nose, broken against Vicente. That was extremely brutal. But like, that one was a little different because Mike Perry's nose just kind of got turned sideways, and it was fucking brutal. But Derek's nose got fucking smashed in. Like, it got smashed inwards. It was brutal, and he was fighting a really dumb fight, to be completely real. I get why he was doing it. He was trying to show Page that he wasn't scared to go out and strike with him, but he was trying to fight with his hands down and do like the same style, and it's like, guy, Michael Page has been point karate fighting since he literally could walk, since he was a little baby. Like, you're like, to think that you're gonna come in here and outstrike him and do his style better than he's going to fucking do it, you are out of your mind. And he got outclassed, and he got his nose smashed in, and it was really bad. And then come to find out that he had kidney failure. Going into this fight, this man had kidney failure, and he fought, and he hit it. It's like, Jesus Christ, is Derek a bad motherfucker? And why? Is it because he was just like, fuck it? Or was it what I was referencing at the start, that these guys, they don't have health care? Like, they don't, like, it's just the week of that fight. So it's like, whatever they need to get treated, or if they have to pull out, like, they don't make money. Like, they don't get paid. They don't get insured, right? That they need to fucking fight to make money. So it's like, I feel like it was probably that. It was probably a mix of that he's really tough and that he really needs that fucking money, right? And then, and then his kidneys failed and got his nose smashed in the fucking process. This is a brutal sport, people. A very, very brutal sport, man. It's like, I don't like seeing shit like fucking that, man. Like, this man had kidney failure and was he wasn't forced to like fight, but I'm sure that he was, because if he didn't fight, he would have no fucking money, probably. which I don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing, but there's a lot of guys that do that they fight hurt because they can't afford to not fight, because training camp is so expensive. And a guy like him, I'm not necessarily sure what he got paid, but let's say it's like 40 grand, right? Then after you pay taxes, after you pay coaches, all of like this shit, you're left with like $15,000, $20,000, which sounds like a lot, but it's not, because they need to live off of this, right? So most of the time when guys like him fight, they get down to almost no fucking savings, to where they just have a few grand left, or in some cases literally have almost nothing left. I like forgot who, but there was a guy that fought on the fucking prelims. It was like a few months back, and he was literally saying like about how his count was at $7. He had $7 left to his name on fight week, which is insane. And I don't think that that's a rare thing. I think that that's a pretty common thing. So I feel like that's what happened here, and he got his nose smashed in the fucking process, which will be covered because it happened during the fight. But like, he's going to have, some facial surgery and shit. So hopefully he can like come back and heal from this. I mean, it's definitely gonna be tough, man. I mean, that was a brutal fucking broken nose. But this podcast is getting pretty long here. Let's just move quickly. John Jones shuts down any potential of fighting Stipe. He said that he will only fight the champion, and that's it. Which granted, I feel like that is right. For as much as Jones is, I don't know how to put it in like words, but that is very rightful. Through all this crazy fucking contracts, asking for supposedly 30 million, and then he's like, oh no, like it wasn't 30 million, and then he didn't say how much he actually asked for. So it's like, through all that weird fucking situation, I definitely can see why, and he has the right to fight for the title. I mean, this man was a champion, and he gave up his belt so that he can move up. So it's like he never lost that belt. So I think rightfully so, he should sit out until he gets that shot. But I just thought I would throw it in here because in my head that fight made a lot of sense, Jones versus Stipe. But I can see why Jones doesn't want to take that risk. Because why? Because right now I think he just wants the biggest fight possible, and that's versus Francis, right? So he wants to wait, and he wants to fight Francis and make the most money that he's ever made, which rightfully so. Rightfully so. But the money that he's asking for is fucking crazy, and this fight will never get done if he doesn't calm down. Because I know for certain, I know 100%, the UFC would pay him $10 to $12 million. I know that for certain. So the fact that he's holding out this long, he has to be asking for 20 million or something like that, which is kind of crazy, because Jones isn't as big of a star as like Conor or like even Francis. I think at this very moment, Francis is a bigger star. Like, as far as casuals and pay-per-view buys, Francis is the bigger star right now. So it's kind of crazy if he wants that Conor money, or like shit like that. And if he doesn't calm down, then that fight will never happen. But I mean, we'll just see. But he can confirm though that he's going to sit out until he gets that fight. But this podcast is going on like an hour, so let's just move on to the next thing. This upcoming fight card, really quick. We have Michael Chandler, the former Bellator GOAT, and he finally gets his shot at UFC gold, and it's against Charles Oliveira. Sorry, people, I have a stutter. It's annoying, but so they will face off for the vacant lightweight title, and for Chandler, I could see this going multiple ways, because I was thinking at first that Chandler, for him, this is the best matchup possible, and I think he matches up really well with Charles. But then I was also thinking that Will Brooks was one of Chandler's toughest fights, right? I would say that was probably it was his toughest fights, man. He couldn't crack that code. And Charles is like a better Will Brooks with jiu-jitsu off the charts on top of it. So it'll be interesting, because if Charles can take down Chandler, I feel like that's what this fight will come down to. And if he can, then I think he wins. If he can't, I think he loses and he gets knocked out. But I mean, we shall see. We also have the return of Tony Ferguson, who very well may not be the same fighter that we're so used to. Tony has, from that Justin Gaethje fight, took one of the worst beatings I've ever seen in my entire life, man. And there's this video out there where it's that fight, but with no commentary, nothing, just the biggest punches, and it's just the sound of Justin Gaethje hitting Tony Ferguson, and it is sickening. It is sickening, no fucking lie, man. It is brutal to fucking watch, man. It's the impact of Justin Gaethje hitting Tony Ferguson and him eating these fucking shots. It's like, that is way, way worse than getting hit and then getting knocked out. That it's so much better to get knocked out in the first punch than eat 200 punches to the fucking head that are full clip. And it's I just feel like that changed Tony. And in his last fight against Charles, he didn't look good at all. Tony looks ready. He looks motivated. It seems like he wants to come back and come back strong. So this fight against Dariush, who is a fucking beast too. At one point in time, he was supposed to be the next big fucking thing, man. I mean, and then he had a couple losses, but then he's been on a massive streak and has looked really, really good. So that matchup is interesting, because it all comes down to what Tony Ferguson will show up. Is it the one that fought in his last fight, or is it the one that was on that 15 fight fucking win streak? And then you also have the return of Jacare. I feel like he hasn't fought in a while, since Holland knocked him out. Yes. So he hasn't fought this year. So I mean, like, I guess it wasn't that long. But the Kevin Holland knockout was weird because him and Kevin Holland, like, there was this clip of like them kind of mic'd up, and they were just talking like fucking back and forth, and then fucking Kevin Holland was like just fucking saying like, oh man, this is weird, like I saw this in a like actually dream once, blah blah blah, and then fucking Jacare was like oh what, and then Kevin Holland just fucking decks him when they're mid fucking conversation and rocks fucking Jacare. And then that was the beginning of the like end there, where it was one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen. So he's looking to bounce back from that. He's lost 4 out of his last 5. Granted, it has all been to, you know, formidable guys, right? Like, it's not like he's losing to dog shit fighters, right? I mean, he's losing to the best of the best in this weight class. So he is returning against Andre Muniz, which I don't even think I know this fucking guy. So we'll see how like that fight is. And then the last fight that I will talk like about here is Edson Barboza versus Shane Burgos. That has a potential to be the fight of the night there. Edson is such an amazing talent, man. And this guy, when he's on, he is fucking on. And he can look like one of the best fighters in like the fucking world. And then he also has fights where he gets dominated. I mean, he like fought like Beeb, got utterly dominated, right? He fought also Kevin Lee. Besides him rocking Kevin Lee really really bad, once he didn't look good for like the like fucking rest of that fight. Justin Gaethje knocked him out. This Paul Felder fight, the scoring was weird because I don't remember Edson cleanly losing this one. Like, I remember it being super duper close, and then they gave Felder all three rounds, which I was really shocked at. And then he lost the fight to Ige, and then he won his last fight. So we shall see what happens there. But this main card's stacked, so your fights to watch here, your main fights to keep an eye out for, I think, is that Edson fight, then obviously the co-main and the main like event. Then on the prelims, you got fucking Jacare, and then you also have actually Chanko's sister and Antonina. And then you also have Lando Venata, which Lando always comes to fucking fight. He has such a wacky style, man. He's entertaining through and through. So, a lot of great fights. Can't wait to watch them. Yeah, so then I guess that this is it for the podcast. If there's anybody listening to this point, I love you with all my heart. The last pod like cast that I did was my most viewed, and thank you all. And I got a few subs, I got some likes, I got some comments. So thank you all. That's extremely sweet. That honestly gives me a lot of drive and more confidence that at least there's a couple people that don't think that this podcast is like a fucking pile of shit. So if you're fucking one of those people, I love you, and I hope you have a great week, and enjoy these fights, people. See you later.